Hi, everybody. You're back with another Docs Daily. And hey, it's Monday, February 3rd, 2025. I thought we would be talking trade talk in the NBA like in a couple days, but oh my goodness, guys, what a weekend of betting. We got the Super Bowl upcoming, and then we got all this news. How was your betting weekend, do you two?
Well, I'll kick off. I mean, yesterday was definitely a good day for me. I ended up sweeping college basketball. I pinpointed my NHL play. I actually did. I went with the Bulls yesterday, Nick. So I had some fun with that one. Ended up going the other way on me. So I'm going to jump on that train with you. If I say Bulls, go the other way. But it was a good weekend. You know, I didn't have any top plays, but overall we cashed some tickets. No top plays, but tonight I have a massive 7-unit best bet that goes off at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm more locked into today on the NBA side of things. How about you, Craig? How was your weekend?
It was great. On a 15-5 top play run the last 10 days. So absolutely been tearing it up, especially NBA. Got a big play in the NBA tonight, 6-unit. I have to get it in tonight because I think the next 2 days you kind of got to be a little leery with the trade deadline. You know, guys move and then all of a sudden you're stuck into these bets. So a big play tonight. Nick, how was your weekend?
Killed it on the college basketball side of things. On Saturday and Sunday, we had 2-0 sweeps both days. Yesterday, we had West Virginia +6. We took down your Cincinnati Bearcats there on the road. They won outright, and we also had Illinois over Ohio State. I got that one back since I had Illinois over Nebraska on the road. They lost in overtime, but they came back in the second half, started playing really good basketball, had a -5.5. They won by 8. We're steamrolling in college basketball. My last 27 selections were 21-6 for +$7,180 right now. We got a lower volume card today. I have a 1-unit college basketball, but we're picking up. We're rolling here. We got March Madness right around the corner. So yeah, feeling good.
It's that time of year where basketball kind of takes over. You know, it's that last week we get one football play, of course, Super Bowl. Everybody's going. We're going to have I believe on Thursday we're going to have Robert Ferrigno on as well. So all 4 of us are going to be on, so we can talk tons of Super Bowl. Probably just have like a little bit of talk of basketball in the NBA and college basketball, and then like 15, 20 minutes talk about the Super Bowl and some props and kind of lines, all that kind of stuff. All right. Before we do so, don't forget, get that. Hey, we talk about our best bets. We'll give you all kinds of free plays. But our absolute best bets are always for our subscribers, people that buy our picks. If you haven't got in before, use this DocSports.com/free60. You'll get a free $60 to use however you want. You can use it on individual plays. They're usually about $30 to get an individual play for the day, for like a card for the day. Could be college basketball, NBA, NHL, whatever you like. And you can get it from any of our handicappers, not just us. You can get any of the handicappers over at Doc Sports. Also can use it if you want a longer term, so you want more plays, you can supplement. I think it's $99 per week per sport. So if you want to spend an extra $39, you can get like a week of picks, which you're looking at. Usually most guys are giving out multiple plays a day in each sport. So at the worst, you're going to get 7 plays, but you could end up with 15, 20, 30 plays depending on the sport. So make sure you check that out. And don't forget, like and subscribe so you don't miss on all our videos here at Doc Sports. We usually have about 10 videos up every day between the shorts, the individual videos, live videos. So make sure you check it out, like and subscribe so you don't miss out. All right, guys, let's kick it off in the NBA. Before we get to it, Luka for AD. I mean, an absolute mismatch of, I don't think you could probably say AD will ever be traded for anybody and you say it's a mismatch. But at the point of Luka's career, being 25, 26-year-old superstar in the league, it's an absolute, just scratch your head. Something else has to be behind the scenes. Yeah. And let's talk how it affects betting, because now we've seen the Lakers' future odds go way down. I mean, they were a pretty big long shot to win the championship. And that's saying something because Lakers usually draw lots of money. Now they're actually more favored than Dallas, which I actually think it still should be the other way. I still think Dallas with AD is a little better than the Lakers and with Luka and LeBron. How do you think, Nick, this affects, going forward, not only an individual game better, but future bettors for both the Lakers and the Mavericks?
Yeah, I mean, this trade is a blockbuster trade, no question about it. And it gets guys like us a lot of banter. We necessarily don't know what's going on in the locker room, in the organization, but something happened. Obviously, Luka wasn't maybe happy with the owners or the GM. We don't know, but I think Luka is going to find himself in a better spot when he gets healthy for this Los Angeles Lakers team. It's his team now. Yes, you got LeBron James and he's getting up there, but he's not going to be playing every day like Luka's going to be playing. I think that the move for AD here for the Dallas Mavericks is also good because Kyrie Irving, now you got the pick and roll game going with those two. So it's going to be exciting to watch. I think, though, this Dallas Mavericks team, now that they have AD, is somebody you got to watch out for here in the West, Craig.
Yeah, the one surprising is that the Lakers needed a big. If you're going to get rid of AD, they don't have, Jackson Hayes and, guys that can fill in minutes, as the second and third units, but it's not you're not plugging Jackson Hayes in the starting lineup. And they had lots of bigs with Dallas. So I was a little surprised they didn't throw in, one of their bigs, likely Gaffney. I mean, somebody like it definitely thinks there's more to this. Also, I think Austin Reeves is kind of expendable now because you really don't need a point guard if you have, especially what they're paying him. You don't need him. I have a feeling we're going to see both of those things be addressed here in the trade deadline. Now, the other big trade, which in any other year, De'Aaron Fox getting traded with LaVine and all, the three-way trade that sends LaVine to the Kings, and you get, which De'Aaron Fox, it sounded like, wanted to go to the Spurs, so he gets into his preferred destination. Griffin, what do you think of this trade? I mean, it's hard to believe, but this is the back burner trade of the weekend.
It's definitely a very weird case of scenario, but I think it's definitely, Craig, going to take a lot of time for these transitions to actually accumulate. When you make a big, as Nick mentioned, a blockbuster trade, and that's exactly what we're looking at here. Teams like this in situations like this, it's going to take time for these teams to format. So as a betting perspective, when you look at these games, this is where you are going to spot traps across the map. When these lines come out, you're going to see all of these lines, and the public is going to be so heavy on these new moves and on these new plays. I think this is a time from a betting standpoint where you need to step back from these specific teams and scout them and wait a couple weeks before you actually move forward and start actually wagering on them, seeing how they play together as a team, seeing how one team hones in on the other team. There's a lot of different spectrums in my eyes right now, Craig, but from a betting standpoint, these are now teams that I will not be betting on or wagering on whatsoever for the next course of the next 2 weeks, just because I want to see how these guys formulate and come out and play together as a team, as I've mentioned. I'm
interested to see when Popovich comes back for the Spurs, because if he kind of was there already, I think this would be pretty seamless because, I mean, he's got so much respect and he's just done it all, seen it all, done it all. But with, a young coach there and a young team, let's be honest, other than Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes, lots of young players on the Spurs. I'm really bullish on them though. I think they actually, of all the big trade partners, they are the ones that are going to see the biggest uptick. I just don't think it's going to move the needle a ton for the Lakers or a ton for Dallas, unless there's lots of other moves, because I just think long-term it's great for the Lakers. They got the second best player or first, second, third best player in the league, depending on how you rate your top players right now, especially young players. So futures, the Lakers won. I'm not sure right now, this year, I actually think Mavs will be better still this year. So we'll see.
Did you happen to catch that flop too on the transition with the Mavericks? They were plus 1,800 to win it all. Now they're plus 4,000 in the futures. So, I mean, look at the Jurassic of that change. And imagine punching in a wager early on in the season. And now we're that pull-out ticket to look at right now. So, I mean,
you got to rebet it. You got to rebet it now. You would have to take that. You'd have to go back in. And it's the opposite. The Lakers were 30-some to 1, 35 to 1 or something, and now they're 18, 19 to 1, I think is. And they're taking all the money, I guess.
That's dramatic. I don't think it's that dramatic. Long term, as you just mentioned, Craig, absolutely. Yeah. As you pick up a 24-year-old kid, you have a.
I think they're going to be worse. Luka's out for how long? A week, right? He's out for another week.
Right. I mean, he's always out. Same with Davis. So I mean, it's one of those scenarios where how critical could 2,200 points and an aspect of odds plus. How drastic could that really be when you really look at it from a betting standpoint? It's just crazy, man.
I mean, it probably doesn't matter. I don't think either one of those teams will probably win in a championship.
No.
I mean, I still think there's still a handful of teams that are there. The news is really going to be LeBron says he's going to stay. But is it behind the scenes? He's like, listen, I don't want to sit in the corner while Luka dribbles around all day. I'll go to the Warriors, or because the Warriors that reached out last year. I mean, him and Steph would be some kind of crazy, like if you could orchestrate that. But we also have the Jimmy Butler saga still going on. Going to be harder now, to be very honest, I think, to trade Butler, because a lot of people had said that maybe the Bulls would be the third or fourth team in a trade where they could get, to match salaries with Levine coming out. And now that he's traded, obviously he's not going to be included. So it definitely makes it harder, I think, for Jimmy Butler. One, he said he wouldn't re-sign with many teams like the Warriors. He said he would not re-sign with the Warriors. So the Warriors look like they're not interested. So, I mean, it's going to be but I would say buyer beware the next 3 days actually in the NBA. So after today, you got to be careful, because if you put your bets in early, like a lot of people do to get the best lines, then that trade happens midday, then you're kind of stuck. So maybe wait until game time the next few days, right before game time, so that way you maybe aren't as affected. Okay, let's talk free bets in the NBA today. Not the biggest card. Obviously, Mondays are always slow. NBA's got a nice size card, but college basketball really slow. So let's talk NBA. Griff, why don't you start us off? Who you like in the NBA as a free play?
Yeah, absolutely. I rolled over this one, and I love Detroit here going back-to-back games against Atlanta. Detroit, they're really playing good basketball right now, man. They're on a 2-game winning streak. They are 5-5 in their last 10 games, but they play good basketball at home. Atlanta, on the other hand, they struggle on the road, and you still don't have a fully healthy Trae Young. And again, you're going to continuously, I say it on every single show, looking at pace of play. Well, in this type of situation right now, you're going up against a Detroit Pistons team that is stout on the defensive side. I want to say they're ranked top 10 on the defensive ratings efficiency-wise. And then you go back over to this Atlanta team. They thrive around pace of play and tempo. And without Trae Young being full health right now, I still just can't rely my chips on them. With Cade Cunningham absolutely going off right now as of late, I love where this Detroit Pistons team is playing right now. And another psychological trap. Detroit coming off back-to-back games. They're playing one of the fastest teams in the NBA, and they're laying only just 3.5 points. They are at home. Give me Detroit laying the 3.5 points, going back-to-back winners in tonight's matchup. I just don't think Atlanta's offense is going to be able to keep up with this team. And if Detroit does grab a nice lead, their pace of play is very slow, controlled, very nice tempo. They're very well coached offensively. So I see this Detroit controlling the game. On top of that, I really like the under in this matchup. I think the total has been overpriced at 235.5. So I could see this game as well, also, Craig, going under that total. And I'd lay the points here with the Detroit Pistons.
Well, the Hawks, I think 8 in a row they've lost straight up. I mean, it's a team that, I mean, if there ever was a team that needed to make a shakeup at the trade deadline, I mean, past years we talked about Trae Young being up on the trade block. Lakers last year, I think about this time we were talking about them. You really haven't heard a whole lot about the Hawks and Trae Young maybe being moved. I guess now that Murray's gone, when they had both, then you would maybe choose to keep one. Now that he's gone, maybe they still need that cornerstone guard. But the Hawks could use a little shakeup. I mean, this team is going nowhere and nowhere fast. If you don't follow the NBA, I think the Pistons have 3 more wins in the win column against Atlanta. Probably most people would not bet that. On the street, you probably could get some good odds if you said Trae Young has less wins than Cade Cunningham and the Pistons. So I like that one. I always think the back-to-back spot, you get better value because people think, oh, they're going to be tired, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's like young teams I don't mind the back-to-back, especially when they're at home, and that is the Pistons in this one. They're the much younger team. All right, Nick, who do you like as a free pick for Monday here?
Yeah, let's look at the Kings and the T-Wolves. T-Wolves coming in this game right now, -5.5 favorites. Kings just got rid of Fox, like we talked about. He's with the Spurs now. I like a prop in this matchup, especially for Sabonis. I like his points in this one. Think he's going to be a big factor tonight. And I would also look at his over in the rebounds. But the Kings are coming into this game just dropping to the Thunder 144-110. Minnesota, on the other hand, lost outright to Washington Wizards. They only got 7 wins now on the season here. This is strictly a bounce back game in my eyes against a struggling Kings team who just lost one of their key players in Fox. And now they got Zach LaVine. I'm thrilled that he's not on the Bulls here anymore. He's in purple. We'll see how that shakes up with him for the Sacramento Kings. But I like this Minnesota Timberwolves team here tonight on the spread, -5.5 here tonight, Craig.
All right, so this is like the Bulls West now because they've got DeRozan and Zach LaVine, which both were on the Bulls last year. I don't know if they're looking to buy out Levine here because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense other than if they just were doing it to gain future assets and draft picks. Like Zach Levine, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense, to be very honest. I was surprised that he was the player. I mean, I guess you got to match salary, so I know that comes into it. But it was a little bit of a shock when his name was like the Kings would want him. For me, I would want a guy that only had 1 year left on their contract that I could buy him out, and I could, try to go for broke this year as far as losing as many games as possible, which is what the Bulls are doing. Be very clear, people. Bulls are trying to lose games so that they have better draft picks because they don't feel like and let's be honest, they can't win it this year. So it's like, hey, let's bottom out, get a higher draft pick. Obviously, everybody wants more balls in the hopper this year because Cooper Flagg's coming out and everybody's in love with Cooper Flagg. So, and he would look good in a Bulls uniform for you, Nick. He would look great. So, all right, I got a free play for you. I like the Suns in the Blazers game. This Blazers team been absolutely killing it. I mean, nobody could have seen this coming. I mean, I think they've won 8 in a row or 8-1 against the spread. And 7 of those 8 games they won outright as an underdog. They've been an underdog every game because obviously one of the worst teams before this were one of the worst teams in the league. Now they're playing unbelievable. They just beat the Suns, and now they get them again. And the Suns are in that weird spot because they want to trade Bradley Beal. He doesn't want to be traded. They want to get Jimmy Butler. They can't get him without Bradley Beal. So it's like, and a lot of these players' names are being included in these trades that obviously they're all aware of it. So I think that's really hurting the Suns team, and I think it hurts them here. I'm going to take the Blazers again, plus 4.5. It almost seems like this should be a pick-em type game. I kind of thought it should have been like a 1-point favorite, 2-point favorite by Phoenix. 4.5 is absolutely crazy. I do see some 4s out there, so I definitely see some money coming in. But let's take the Blazers.
That was going to be my other free play, Craig.
We're all over
Portland. Yeah, they're 5.5 now.
And, a lot of people thought maybe Portland, because they have a lot of young assets, that they might be included in some of these trades. Like they basically just included to get salaries off. Basically, that's what it comes down to. Sure. You obviously have salary cap issues. So I don't know if that's the case now, the way the Blazers are playing. I think they're pretty happy with where they are, and they've got a lot of picks coming up. I think they feel like if they just keep developing these guys, I guess the one guy maybe that could be traded there, DeAndre Ayton, if you need a big a la the Lakers, he's at his age. He's not like a guy that probably untradeable. Grant, also, if you need a 3-and-D type of guy, he's not getting a lot of play. As far as shots and stuff, they're really going with their younger players, the Portland. So I think Jeremy Grant could be a guy that, but those are like I said, they're not their key players right now. You would think when you look at the year, you're like, these are going to be the 2 cornerstone guys. But in this run, it's been the young guys. And I like them again tonight. I think the Blazers cover here. All right, let's jump. Let's do this. Let's jump to the college basketball so we don't miss out. And there's only one game in the NHL, so let's skip it tonight. So we'll go to college basketball, and then we'll come back to the NBA, so that way we don't miss out in college basketball. Nick, why don't you kick us off here? What do you like as a free play tonight? Not a big card, but a couple nice little games in there.
Yeah, let's go to this big showdown matchup in the Big 12 here. We got Iowa State versus Kansas. The current line in this one, Kansas -3 right now. Iowa State on the road this season, they're only 4-2, while Kansas at home is 10-2. Both teams coming into this game, though, off losses. Iowa State got blown out by Kansas State at home 80-61. While Kansas dropped to Baylor on the road 81-70. No question this is going to be a showdown here tonight in Kansas. But in my eyes, for this Iowa State team, they got one guy that they need to shut down, and that's Hunter Dickinson. Kansas runs their offense through Hunter Dickinson. You saw it with Baylor. They only allowed him to score 20 points. He still scored 20 points, but look what happened. They doubled him every time he got the ball, and Baylor won that game. So Iowa State shuts down Hunter Dickinson in this matchup, which I think they will. That will be their main focus here tonight. They are on a 2-game losing streak. I'm taking Iowa State over Kansas +3 on the spread in Kansas here tonight, Craig.
Yeah, obviously both of these teams probably were looking ahead. I always say these Big 12, Big Monday has been the Big 12 for a long time, where teams have to play, unfortunately, on Saturday, turn around and play on Monday. So if you have a big game, which this is obviously a monster game, this one's been circled for both for a very long time.
Yeah.
Easy to look ahead. Kansas was winning against Baylor at some points of that game, but Iowa State was never really in that game. I mean, they definitely were looking ahead. And in the Big 12 this year, I don't care if you're playing Central Florida, my Cincinnati Bearcats that are starting. It doesn't really matter. All teams have shown they can play with teams. Colorado has struggled too, can beat teams and play with them. And Kansas State showed that. They've had, at one point, Kansas State was top 25 early in the year, though. So you maybe have to say Kansas State maybe was a little better than had they played lately. So Iowa State, though, the one thing I always thought, and this was more true last year than this year, that they weren't very big and they struggled on the boards. But Hunter Dickinson's not a guy that will just he's not Dennis Rodman. He's not going to go get you 20 rebounds. He doesn't rebound out of his zone. He's kind of a to B type of guy, point to point. And I think Iowa State's going to just absolutely put him in every pick and roll possible. They're going to wear him out. And I actually thought Iowa State should be favored, even though they've struggled lately. I actually think Iowa State's the better team. I know Kansas at home. I think, what are they, 11-2 at home or something? Does anyone have that in front of them?
10-2.
10-2 at home. So, obviously Kansas, and going back historically, Kansas has been unbelievable. But the run that they had in the Big 12 where they won all those championships year in, year out, going to be much tougher with the bigger Big 12 now where you don't play everybody home and home. Much, much tougher going forward. I like Iowa State as well, Nick, tonight. Griffin, what do you like as a free play tonight?
Yeah, so Craig, this one's an interesting one for me, and it's North Texas versus UAB tonight.
Yeah.
And this is a really good game in my eyes, honestly, in the AAC. It's a really good matchup, to be honest with you. North Texas, they come into this game 16-5. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and they're coming off a loss to UTSA in their most recent matchup. So this is a big spot play for me right now. This North Texas team right now, I know they are on the road, and UAB does play very good basketball at home. But right now, North Texas is doing everything right, offensively and defensively, especially on the defensive side. This team is top 40 when it comes to defensive ratings, and they are sneaky fast. They can steal the hell out of the ball. They're great on defensive turnovers, and they've got shooters from the arc. These guys can get it done from the perimeter. So in this matchup, Craig, I think this is a really good spot play for North Texas, and I have no issue that it is a -2.5. I would take a money line just to take that game straight out at a -145 line. So in this spot play for me, I'm taking North Texas over UAB to beat them on their own home court.
Yeah, UAB have played pretty well other than that game at Memphis. They really were never in it. It was – I watched the entire game. I kind of liked I think I had a free play on UAB that night. It was like 9 or 9.5, maybe even 10 points. I thought they'd keep it close. It wasn't close. And I think North Texas and UAB are that second team, in the conference.
Yeah.
FAU would be right below them maybe. We're going to see. North Texas defense, UAB offense.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like UAB, maybe the best team in the conference as far as offensively. I guess Memphis would be right there as well. And then by far the best defense is North Texas. So this is one of those games I say correlated parlay. If you like North Texas, you take the under. And if you like UAB, you take UAB in the over, because whoever gets their system, out their style of play is going to win this game. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out which one, because the home court obviously is always key, especially in this conference. So we'll see on that one. I don't know. I'm like, I had to stay away from that one. I have a little small play for you. I had to play my 4 or 3 unit play, I believe tonight, is that College Charleston game. I really think that could be a hidden gem type of game. But a free play for you tonight, Northern Arizona and Weber State. And anytime you look at a team that's 13-9 versus teams 8-15, and the 8-15 home team's favored by 1.5 points, that tells you should definitely pay attention to the home team, because it's a trap type of game. Odds makers know that. I like the home team here. They played early in the year. Weber State almost won that game. They only lost by 3. I think Weber State's better than their losing record suggests. I think they win this game and cover. We'll take the small spread at -1.5. This is one of those handicapper gems for me. As a bettor, you should know when you're looking at the overall records and you see a team that's actually favored and they're a losing record, probably a pretty live play for the night. Because otherwise, a lot of bettors just look at the records and they're going to play the +1.5 with Northern Arizona here. So a little gem for you. Okay, let's go back to the NBA. Now we got that out of the way. Like I said, not the biggest card in college basketball tonight. We do have that really those are the 2 big games that the other guys gave out are the 2 big games for tonight. And I think those are both going to be pretty good games. But now we look at the NBA, guys. When I look at tonight's card, there was one game I just was so confused with. So, Nick, I'm going to throw it to you. You got the Spurs and Grizzlies. The Spurs were obviously involved in that trade. So that's a little bit of a risk. Although it really wasn't anybody on their key, like that they lost. So it kind of, usually I'm like, I stay away from those teams. They're actually just getting guys. You know what I mean? Like, they're really not losing anybody. Chris Paul stayed. Harrison Barnes stayed. I kind of thought one of these guys would have to go out for them to get Fox. It wasn't the case. They face a Memphis team coming off a huge win in Milwaukee last night without Ja Morant. What do you think of this matchup tonight?
Yeah, both of them. Victor Wembanyama is a game-time decision. He was obviously out in the last one. I actually had the San Antonio Spurs, and they lost in a buzzer beater with Miami in that one. If Victor Wembanyama was in that, Bam would have been shut down, no question about it. So you're waiting on those two to see if they're playing tonight. Ja Morant as well is a game-time decision. But I think Victor Wembanyama will be in this lineup here. I love the points with the San Antonio Spurs, +4.5 here. Granted, Memphis does play their best basketball at home. They're 20-5 on the season. We'll see if Ja Morant is in this lineup. If he is, I would stay away from it and look at an over in this game if both Victor Wembanyama and Ja Morant are in this game. I believe the over-under is 242.5 here, so I would still smack that over. It's a lot. But if those two guys are in, I think we'll see a ton of points. But if Victor's in, take the Spurs +4.5. If they are both in, take the over 242.5 points there, Craig.
I think Wemby's definitely going to play. It sounds like, at least the Twitter sounds like he's going to play. And the line kind of suggests he's going to play. Ja Morant, I think he's probably out. Because I think he would have went last night if he was close. Obviously, that was the featured game on ESPN. And, the NBA really wants the stars to play in those games. So this one kind of is off the board, Griffin. When you look at this other game, I was thinking about Houston, New York. New York's favored by 6, total 224. Houston had that run. We talked about him last week. Unbelievable against Boston, back-to-back wins for him against they had a couple days in between, but they beat Cleveland. So 2 of the best teams in the NBA beat them in a 7-day span. And then now they've kind of hit the skids a little bit. Were we overrated on Houston, or is it what do we do tonight here?
No, I'm not going to say that we were overrated. It was nothing more than a retracement. This team exceeded that level of they needed to retrace. I mean, how many games and how many good teams can you really beat in a row before you actually bounce back and to settle into where you were actually capable of playing right now? They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. They're on a 2-game losing streak, and they just dropped to Brooklyn in their most recent matchup. And then you have a New York Knicks team who plays stout basketball at home with a record of 17-9. Right now, they're coming off a loss. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. The New York Knicks are a much better team in my eyes offensively. But when you look at a defensive standpoint, defense wins games. And Houston does very well job at playing defense. They're coming off a letdown game, losing to Brooklyn. So when I look at this game, I immediately do not want to touch a spread. 6.5 points is a lot of points to lay in a matchup this competitive. That brings me to a total because of liability laying the points there. If I had to lean on a side, I'd be leaning towards the Knicks in this game. But I like the total here. It's a low total sitting at 224.5, and I think this thing goes under. I believe we're going to see a very tight competitive matchup. I think the Rockets are going to come out shelling and looking for blood as they're coming off that loss. But again, the Knicks, they play such stout basketball at home, and they're so dynamic on the offensive side. I just think this is going to be a totals play, and I believe this thing stays under 224.5 points in this matchup, Craig.
I got a small lean to Knicks in this one. I think OG is probably not going to play. That injury could be an absolute, because they're pretty small. They don't have a lot of big guys, and he plays a lot bigger than what his height is. I mean, he can go get you rebounds. He can guard bigger guys, and he can pretty much switch on anybody. But I still think the Knicks in a short game, 10 games, they're going to really feel his missing. I think tonight they'll be okay. And a Houston team that's not really big. They don't punish you inside. So I like the Knicks here, small play. Knicks I thought they were going to have to win with defense this year. This offense is looking really good lately. If the Knicks can shoot like this, especially Hart, because that was the thing. You could double team other guys off pick, play drop defense on Hart. Hart's hitting shots. When he's hitting shots, they're a tough team. They're not going to lose many games when he's hitting shots because you got to leave somebody open. He's always the odd man out. I like the Knicks, though, in this spot.
First half line is also appealing as well with the Knicks.
Yeah, like 3. like
those.
2.5 to 3.5, depending on which book you look at. I think the first half would be great. All right. Don't forget, we'll be back again every day this week. Got a big week ahead. We're going to have Robert Ferrigno with us on Thursday. We're going to have a Super Bowl special. So make sure you stay tuned. You hit that like and subscribe button. And then don't forget, we like all these plays. These are always our free plays, though. Our best plays. We didn't talk about any of them today. So make sure you go over to DocSports.com/free60. If you're a new customer, you'll get a free $60 account. If not, go to the grid. Go to the grid and pick up one of our plays for tonight or any of your other experts over at Doc Sports. All right, guys. We'll see you again on Tuesday. Going to continue to talk probably more football, a little sprinkle in each day, but we're going to be talking a lot of hoops this week other than that. So good luck.